Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the cryptoverse. My name is Stephen Miller. I'm here with our producer, Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Steve?
Oh, been a great day in the crypto land. So
Oh
we've
yeah.
got a great number of things to talk to you guys about today. I got a great show ahead. We're gonna do a couple of little fun games, but as far as I know, Dad's away, so the kids will play. That's the way I'm playing our Friday streams right now. So while Richard's out of town and doing his thing, we have free reign, bud.
Oh yeah. And I'm very excited for that. Believe me.
So I guess like the first thing I want to start off with is, did you get a chance to see any of this insanity with Paris Hilton on Fallon the other night?
I did
Because
not know.
she did this massive pump all about NFTs. Basically,
Okay.
Fallon had asked her about NFTs, and for somebody like Paris Hilton to come on that show and just crush the definition of NFT, I was
Interesting.
I was put over the moon. It gives me hope that like if that's how it's going to be, and we're going to have people being articulate about NFTs at like her intellect level, because I don't see Paris Hilton as a smart person. That's just me. Um, Sorry, Paris, if you ever get a handle on this video, but that's just how I view you. So the fact that she can confidently go through that and she can nail the definition of an NFT, explain it in very simple terms to Jimmy Fallon and the rest of his audience. I mean, that to me says that we're going to be, talking about NFTs for years to come. But
Yeah.
what's your take? Do you think we're going to start seeing more and more of this pop up on the nightly shows and on the daily show circuits?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw Pet Rock sell for $400,000 last week. I think out of the cryptocurrent team, I'm definitely still the biggest NFT skeptic, but obviously people want to spend money on it. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Tyga or someone else. I'm, I forget which rapper it was, but he released 1 million copies of his album as an NFT, sold it for $1 each, and made, or something like that, but made basically sold out his album in like an hour or less.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if that's where we're moving to, especially for like something like the music industry, right?
Yeah.
What people need to connect is that like with NFTs, we're removing a middleman. And that's
Oh
this
yeah.
it's the same sort of thing within crypto at large, right? You have the opportunity to unbank yourself or remove yourself from a broker, like your typical stock trading broker. You would go through somebody at a Merrill Lynch or a Fidelity, and they would have the opportunity to trade for you on your command effectively. With
Definitely.
NFTs, especially in music, you have the artist who is basically getting screwed over by the 50 different people that you have to pay down the line from any type of music deal. They ultimately are the last person that gets paid on their own music. So
Hmm.
now with NFTs, with what you're talking about, that's a huge win for the industry at large. But I can talk NFTs all day. What are you seeing out in the world right now? What's going on in Austin?
Um, I mean, Greg Abbott has COVID. If you don't know, that is the governor of Texas, and he has been vehemently against, mask mandates, and he's not anti-vaccine per se, at least that I know of, but he's definitely not like, jumping from the rooftop shouting to go get vaccinated. So I assume this is going to be one of those Lindsey Graham situations where he's going to say, "Thank God I was vaccinated. It made it way better than it would have been," and Texas will change for the better, but who knows? As far as crypto goes, tonight, actually, funny we're talking about NFTs. Some people from the Chainlink team are giving a talk about NFTs in Austin. I forget where because I don't think I'm going, but yeah. So
Well,
very, very, very on topic tonight, talking about NFTs, but also talking about Chainlink. That was one of my, part of the crypto draft we did on Tuesday for that show, for Crypto to Cryptid. That was Chainlink was my large cap pick, so we'll see.
Well, I was gonna say that's a good enough plug for me. Everybody, make sure that you're tuning in on Tuesdays because we got blockchain bets every Tuesday where Richard, Chris, and I go head to head to head on drafting a large cap, a mid cap, and a small cap coin pick, and we're gonna see how we each stack up week over week, and ultimately crown a victor by the end of the bull cycle. Because I'm not sure we're gonna be able to play that game in the bear market. Uh, well,
You,
look, that at least brings me to a really fun segment for us here because I want to move into something that's somewhat of a game. Okay, we're gonna play a little bit of buy, sell, or hodl. We like these little three-tiered games on the channel so far, so we're gonna keep playing them. And the first one, if you can do me a favor and bring up story number 1, we're gonna give you our take on whether or not, based on what we get out of the story, if we buy that article and what it's talking to, or if we, would invest on that article's news, if we would sell it, meaning that it's just not worth your attention, or if we really need more information and we'll just hodl on that news. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about this first story?
So CoinStats, for those of you who don't know that are watching, CoinStats is a, essentially crypto portfolio aggregator. What I mean by aggregator is it's not combining all of your wallets into one place and, basically re-centralizing your crypto finances. I mean by aggregator is that you can plug in all of your different exchanges and your, wallets, and you can basically have it in one site. So rather than checking, Coinbase and Binance and, Gemini, Bilaxy, wherever you are using exchanges, if you have a ton of, offline cold storage wallets, rather than kind of frequently checking all those and keeping track manually of, kind of how much am I worth in crypto? How are my assets doing? CoinStats is this great website. Not an ad, by the way. Just I personally use it and love it. CoinStats is a website where it takes all this information and shows you, okay, you have, I wish you have 100 Bitcoin, and that this is how it's doing, and 10 Ethereum, and 50 Helium, and all that, and it shows you a list. Even if, say, you have Bitcoin here, there, part of one here, it keeps all of it together, and lets you know basically how much you're worth. It's a great portfolio. I think they talk about it in this article, but they are the market leader for providing this sort of service. If you know BitBoy, this is actually the service he uses as well. So just goes to show even some of the big boys in the crypto content space like it. But the big news that came out actually a few days ago is that CoinStats is going to basically start offering DeFi services so that you can buy, trade, sell, pretty much anything you would want to do on a normal crypto exchange or a DeFi platform, you'll be able to do it through CoinStats. And they're introducing their own wallet that is supposed to be super secure. But before I, kind of plug and rave about that, I do want to read more into their encryption. But I think this is pretty big deal. But personally, Steve, I don't know about you. I'm going to have to hodl here just because I don't know much about their wallet, and I'm interested to see how they're actually going to implement DeFi or if they're going to be really partnering with someone else.
Yeah, and see, I would normally agree with you. I think that this is the type of news like, okay, you have to see how they roll it out. CoinStats is in a really unique position because, again, to your point, like a lot of people know about it and they've been using it as like a portfolio aggregator for years. I mean, I remember back in 2017 when Richard and I were first getting into the market, CoinStats was there. I mean, it was not nearly as like robust as it is right now, but it's been around, so it's well known. They have a really solid user base. Their UI is strong, but to me, I throw up a really big buy flag on this. And the biggest reason is they have not yet rolled this out. So to me, that number one translates as more rumor than news.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we sell the news when the thing actually happens. That's why, in a couple weeks, when, Cardano smart contracts go live, you're going to see a small drop off in the price for a minute because that's the news actually, coming to pass.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't necessarily see it as like the opportunity to go buy into CoinStats because, again, they don't have coin yet, right? They're not actually out there decentralized in their own right. But I personally see this as a big indicator because people are starting to get to that point where they can actually invest in and utilize DeFi platforms through CoinStats. That rate there alone tells me I need to be buying the DeFi plays. I need to be looking at the dexes. I need to be looking at things like Compound and Maker and start positioning myself in those plays because more and more of this narrative is coming. So I personally think that we're going to see DeFi fall come, and it's going to come hard. And you're going to be seeing 10x's all over the place out of some of your favorite DeFi plays. So this to me is a validator. I would definitely buy on this.
Awesome. Should we go to story number two?
Oh yeah, let's go to story number two. This is one of my favorite stories of the week.
This
Um,
is this is a fun one to be sure. I think everyone here is really gonna like it. Let me see. Here we go. I got it pulled up. You guys ready? This is. I think you would have been in college. I think you probably would have been a freshman, no, sophomore maybe when this was like first came out. I think I was going into my junior year of high school or something like, because I could drive.
mhm.
Um, but big news, everyone. Bitcoin is going Pokemon.
And I'm obsessed with this news. If you can scroll down a little bit for us,
Yep.
I'll paint a little bit bigger of a picture. Um, One of the coolest apps out there right now within the crypto space is called Fold, and basically they have their own debit card program where you would basically go in, you'd get your debit card, and you can use it, and immediately it pays rewards in satoshis. So again, satoshis being a millionth of a Bitcoin, it's the lower denomination of a Bitcoin. And with this news, we're basically seeing that Fold wants to launch their own AR play, just like in Pokemon Go, how you go around in real life and you walk around with your phone and you do this and you go and you're like, okay, I'm gonna catch this little Bulbasaur and you throw the Pokeball at it. This is the exact situation that crypto needs, in my opinion. More active, engaged ways that individuals can interface with blockchain and make it more fun. Gamifying the blockchain to me, that is crucial. So to see them doing this and making getting your hands on satoshis a real thing, that I mean it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be using that from day one, especially because me and my wife still play Pokemon Go today because we're nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally think this is really dope. And again, if you haven't looked into Fold, like they're not a sponsor, but their platform is really, really cool, and it's a really great way to passively earn on your Bitcoin. But what do you make of this? Are you wanting to go out and buy Bitcoin on this?
So, I mean, I want to buy Bitcoin anyways because although it's a little hard to see right now in the top left there on CoinDesk, you can see Bitcoin's at $49,198. So it is, it's about to break another big watermark that I don't think anyone in the crypto space. BitBoy can rave all he wants that he predicted this, but the man has a different prediction for when a price is going to hit every single day. The reality is, no one saw Bitcoin hitting 50K at this point.
Yeah,
Everyone thought it was going to be end of September, beginning of October. The fact that we are basically still in like, well, no, we're in week three still of August, and Bitcoin is about to hit $50,000 is a very good sign for what the rest of the fall and what the winter and early next year will look like. So I want to buy Bitcoin because of that. That being said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fold and to play this game, you won't have to actually pay anything, correct? You just need to hook up your Bitcoin wallet and it's
not
free.
a not a dime. So actually on Fold, you have your own independent Bitcoin wallet. You don't need to hook up anything.
Awesome.
So long as you create your own account and you secure your account through the Fold app, you will be able to start earning Satoshis into the app and you can then transfer them to any Bitcoin wallet after the fact. So to me, download the app, get yourself staged up. Beta, I think they said is going live in the next couple of weeks. But it's essentially your ability to mine Bitcoin on the go. So, I mean, to me, I'm playing that for sure, just for the sake of saying like I'm out here catching Bitcoin. Um, but look, man, the fact that they're making Bitcoin fun when Bitcoin to a lot of the younger generation is like just this boring old man's, version of crypto.
Yeah.
It's not the Doge or the Shiba, that's super exciting where I can get all these insane pumps. But
Or
look,
pun
man,
intended, the cum rockets of the world, but
look, I will accept that pun entirely because they're ripping right now. They're up 50% today. But I think that we're right now seeing Bitcoin becoming more popularized through stuff like this.
oh yeah.
So I'm thrilled on it. Am I buying because of this news? I'm going to go ahead and say no, I'm not. But it's for the same reason that you said, right? I want to buy Bitcoin anytime, anywhere. I'm a DCA person when it comes to Bitcoin. I want a dollar cost average in. That to me is way better long-term value. But am I going to buy on downloading the app and getting myself primed to go out and catch Satoshis? You bet your butt I am. So, and yeah, to your point, BitBoy can eat his heart out on all the date calls, but that's the story for a different podcast and a different live stream. Let's dive into story number 3.
Okay. Let me get that keyed up right now. But this is another really interesting one, actually, and I'm definitely excited to talk about it. One second. The window disappeared on me.
That's all good. So just to prime everybody up, this next one has a lot to do with the Polygon Matic network. If you've been with us since the Clubhouse days when we were running our Wednesday night Clubhouses, we used to bring up Polygon a lot in coin calls, and frankly, a lot of the people that were talking with us weekly were really, really bullish on Polygon. And to me, this is one of the biggest pieces of news out of Polygon yet. And I think you're going to see why as soon as Chris can find the article. Chris, are we there yet? Are we there yet, Dad?
Oh, we're there. Oh, we're
Okay.
there. Here we go. So, here you are, Steve. You want to walk us through this?
Yeah. So basically, what they've just announced is that Polygon is going to be rolling out their own decentralized autonomous organization to bring all of DeFi together, within their platform and give people a unified mechanism for, actually operating in DeFi. So as you guys may know, Polygon is an Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution, meaning that it makes operating on the blockchain a lot faster and also a lot cheaper because you're not paying Ethereum's gas fees. To me, in the long term, I see this as a massive signal of where Polygon's net base is headed. Because a lot of people questioned whether or not Polygon was going to be able to stack up once ETH2 gets here. So when ETH 2.0 gets here, they're going to have all these optimizations. They'll have sharding on the network, and everything should become faster and cheaper to operate on. But this shows me that Polygon is thinking way out. They are not just thinking about the right now while we can solve one of Ethereum's problems. They are wanting to bring a bunch of the DeFi players that are on Ethereum onto Polygon, like they already have with Aave and many other platforms, and make those platforms super accessible through a DAO. That to me says a lot. Did you take anything else away from this article that I'm missing?
I mean, uh, as a big crypto lover, I'm also equally a skeptic, but that's more of a healthy skepticism. And one thing that I want to kind of point out here is, a big kind of talk in crypto and especially DeFi, because it's in the name, which is decentralization, is that Polygon is essentially centralizing DeFi right now. And I think it's a good thing because it's practical. And the reality is, as much you want to decentralize everything, it is incredibly inefficient to have to use 20 different platforms to accomplish something. So I think this is good because it's going to make what people are already doing a lot simpler, which is a good thing for people already in crypto because you have people who've been in the space for years. They have a lot of assets in the space and a lot of, real investment. But this is also a really good thing to bring new people in because if you have one area you can go to basically branch out to a bunch of different DeFi platforms, you have access to all of them in one space. It's a great tool, and it's going to basically incentivize people to want to get involved. It makes it less scary. Um, and I think that also just kind of ties into cryptocurrency. A big thing with what we're trying to do is educate people, make crypto less scary. And this is one of those applications of crypto where it's simplifying something that doesn't need to be overly complicated. So I'm buying this news. I think this is fantastic.
I mean, look, I would totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, we were talking about it right before the stream. A lot of this space, like the layman doesn't necessarily have the wherewithal technically to get their, feet wet in it. They want to have the easy path in. And that's part of what we were talking about with the last article, right? Because again, we're gamifying it, we're making it super accessible. It relates to something that a lot of people play, and it therefore makes Bitcoin more understandable, or at least you can get closer to touching it. In the case of this, I'll tell you for sure, especially with like the way that the modern market operates, the layman, the person that's in a retail buying position, those individuals are so skeptical of things like DeFi because they see it as this big technical monster. So there is a big stigma that still exists towards DeFi. There's still a big stigma that exists towards NFTs. And I would argue that that's going to stay there until platforms like Polygon and also like Coinbase had announced earlier in the year, like I want to say it was about a month and a half ago, that they're planning on bringing like the decentralized app store to play on Coinbase. That's what they want to, eventually move toward.
Yeah.
That's where this industry starts getting into concepts like mass adoption because if you can make it easy to use, the people will naturally start to gravitate toward it. So I love this. I already was buying Polygon because personally I think that it's still massively undervalued based on where we are in the market right now. But that wraps up our buy, sell, or hodl the first time we've played this game. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, I just got done checking the chat, and I believe we had one comment in the chat about our Pokemon Go business over on Fold.
Yep, it
And
was Sydney from the cryptocurrent team.
yep, so Sydney's chiming in, and yes, he nailed it right on the head. It's just collecting Satoshis instead of collecting Pokemon. It's going to be a blast. I love the fact they're doing this. But let's just go ahead and forge ahead. I would love to bring up the Cardano chart because on Fridays, we are going to be bringing you guys something really exciting every single week, and that is the big story of the week. And we're calling this segment the Aftershock. I don't know if you picked up on it yet, but here at Cryptocurrent, we run an electricity theme, and that's what we're running with, just as we'll have a lightning round and in many other weeks where we'll be able to answer rapid fire questions from you. So this week, the Aftershock centers on Cardano because of one thing and one thing alone. Cardano just blew past its all-time high faster than I think anybody projected it would. The recovery that occurred was phenomenal. So Chris, if you can scroll down for me just a little bit on the chart and
Yep.
bring it into the 3 month view.
Yeah, so I
Um,
wanted to highlight that price. Right now, it's sitting at 246, which is awesome. I mean, that's
yep,
a great value. But yeah, like you were saying, you can see on the chart back, in May, kind of when we had that mini bear cycle begin. May 23rd dipped down to 112, which was well below pretty much. Well, I say well below. That's in terms of percentages. It was well below where it was earlier in the spring. It was sitting around 140 most of the time. Um, but now we're seeing it at literally more than double, which is just mind-boggling. And this kind of rise started, you know, 10 days ago, literally. You see kind of that spike right there, 140 on August 8th. That was kind of right about where the peak was in the spring when we saw, Bitcoin at 60K and all these insane prices. 10 days later, we're sitting now at 246 right now, but the peak was even higher. It was like 253, which is
yep.
just ridiculous.
So first and foremost, when you see me looking down right now, that's where I've got my monitor set for looking at the screens, and I can't quite tell. Are you on the 3 month or are you on the year?
I'm on the 3 month.
Okay, perfect. Do me a favor, tap on the log. It's in the same exact view plane where
Yep,
you're at right now.
just did
And
that.
sweet. So you'll notice that there's not a lot of change there. There's a reason for that. And I want to make sure that people start seeing this and they start understanding that when they're going up and they're looking at price, they need to be using the logarithmic function. Because most of the time in these types of charts, if you're looking at it on a linear scale, you're only going to be able to see these massive pumps because they visualize very, very simply. By pulling in the logarithmic view, you're able to actually start seeing some of these naturally forming resistance layers, places that we need to be flipping into support. So I'm pretty sure that we have officially flipped, is that $2.30 into support?
I believe, I think yeah, 237 ish. So yeah, 230 we can call it.
Yeah. So again, the point here is that we need to start creating more support levels. And what Cardano did, flip back out to the year. I think that, or year to date. Yeah, year to date will probably be better. If you look at the year to date, the really interesting thing here is you'll see on this chart And I love this. Tap the log again if it's not already active.
Yep, it's active.
So within the course of the year to date period, you'll notice that if you look at this chart versus every other chart in the space, no chart was this flat. No chart maintained their volume, maintained their price level, maintained their circulating supply the way that Cardano did through this cycle. And to me, that's why I think that Cardano is not just primed for an absolute breakout once they, fully cement themselves into this new support level. I think that we're going to probably see some really, really incredible support in this zone when we see the market pull back. And I do see the market pulling back probably after the first week of October. I think that's probably when we're going to start seeing the peak of Bitcoin. But when you look at this thick layer of support, it's going to take a lot for Cardano to break down past this because it was tested 3 or 4 times. They tested the $1 level 3 or 4 times throughout that 3 month interval after April when things just absolutely crashed. So I look at this, I'm excited, and I think that you should be too, because the other really cool thing that's happening, I mean, you see this with Solana and you see it with Luna as well. A lot of these ecosystem plays are taking off. And it's incredible to watch because to me, this is the first indicator that we could theoretically see decoupling happen outside of just the thesis that Ethereum this cycle could start to decouple from Bitcoin. You don't understand, like Bitcoin is the most massive force in cryptocurrency. And the fact that you now have coins that are starting to garner such support and such network effect underneath them that they can now actually hold their own and stand alone without being totally affected by a drop in Bitcoin's price, there is no better news. Truly, we can go back through any number of these news articles throughout the week. There is no better news than that. The fact that we have a decoupling occurring gets me really excited. Chris, do you see this as an opportunity for Cardano to decouple, or am I just, off my rocker and just drinking moon juice?
I think, I think it can go one of two ways, obviously. And hindsight's always 2020, which is we could look at it, a year, 5 years from now and be like, when it's, hopefully worth a few hundred, maybe $1,000, if not more, be like, wow, this is the obvious indicator. How did we all miss it? But at the same time, I think a lot of this has to do with, the spring where we see the beginning of their chart leveling off on a logarithmic scale. That was when we really first started hearing a lot of talk about smart contracts. And then there's been kind of talks ramping up. And I think that's helped to maintain this. So, I think it's what we're I think like 3 weeks out now from when smart contracts will hopefully officially be launched on Cardano. That will be the test. If that's a successful rollout, then yes, this is the start of the decoupling. Um, but obviously that fails, they're going to be walking back a little bit. And I think it entirely comes down to that. I think its performance so far and its, potential performance entirely comes down to smart contracts and the how that will change the entire crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, look, and it goes back to what we were saying about the ecosystem plays, right? When you are seeing the market do what it's doing right now and you see that it's popping back up above $2.1 trillion in net market cap, there are always going to be the narrative factors that are driving that. So, in the olden days, it was always Bitcoin that was driving it. And then in the last cycle, we started to open up to the idea of Ethereum and, certain specific large cap alts being things that would, take on the next narrative after Bitcoin pumped, because all that money that was made in Bitcoin is now trickling down. I am starting to get a really, really good feeling, especially off the last 2 weeks, where we've seen exactly the three that I was just mentioning take off: Cardano, Solana, and Luna. We are about to see a complete pump like you've never seen before out of the ecosystems at large. However, when we're using this idea of the trend is your friend, we always have to keep in mind that it's going to pull everything within the ecosystem with it. So to me, I'm looking at all of those Cardano projects that you need to be watching. and I'm saying, okay, which of them have not pumped yet? I'll tell you for sure, Giro Wallet, a lot of people should not be looking at that because it is already starting to take off. I think it just crossed 50 cents. I would not be surprised if Giro Wallet went well north of $1 this year. That being said, if you're looking for a conservative return, Giro Wallet might be a good call. But the others that you need to be aware of, just that are in the space and to start doing your diligence on and doing your research, be looking at CardStarter. CardStarter is the launchpad platform on Cardano. Look at Charlie 3. Charlie 3 is the Oracle on Cardano, basically thinking about like the chain link of Cardano. That's what Charlie 3 is anticipating. Giro Wallet, like I mentioned, they're a wallet play. They're trying to basically create another DeFi hub on Cardano that's a really easy access point. Iagon. Iagon is such a cool platform. It's basically decentralized cloud computing, selling, your chip space and allowing your computer to lend computing power to a larger cloud network. Sunday Swap. If you thought that right now everything was melting down with Binance, because let's be clear, Binance is in deep trouble. The fact that you have FTX just crushing it with every single press release, every little bit of news, every endorsement, getting Mr. Wonderful himself to be the spokesperson, all of that adds up, guys. It all adds up. So you're going to see certain centralized exchanges benefit, but at large, you're going to see the decentralized exchange narrative take off in the next 3 months because people are tired of KYC over at Binance and KuCoin and Coinbase and name an exchange. They're going to move on to DEXs, and Sunday Swap is the DEX of choice, in my opinion, over at Cardano once they launch. Sunday Swap has an enormous amount of liquidity that's already being pushed behind it. Some really big whales are in that one. They're going to support it. I also think that you should probably look at things like Meld Finance, their DeFi banking play on Cardano. And lastly, Coti, COTI. They're handling what is called AdaPay. So it's their essential easy peer-to-peer transfer of currency. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on over there, guys. What I would tell you for sure is be doing your research and start looking at these plays. If you think, okay, Cardano's not the play, I'm not behind Cardano, they haven't delivered anything yet, look within the Solana ecosystem. Look within the Luna ecosystem. But if you could, Chris, I have a link there for you about on the trend as your friend and looking at some of these projects within this ecosystem. If you can bring that up real quick, it'll paint a bigger picture because this is not exclusive to just Cardano. The graphic that Chris is about to bring up, you can find this sort of thing for any ecosystem. It's out there, but you have to be willing to go out and actually do the lift, do the search. This is a current visualization of a vast majority of the projects on the Cardano ecosystem. So you have it subdivided into certain groups. Who's going to be competing for the NFT play? Who's going to be a DEX? Who's going to be offering a wallet support? Who's looking at the healthcare industry? This stuff is really, really fascinating to me, but you need to realize that it's out there and you can go get it and you can learn more. That's what cryptocurrency is still all about. We want to bridge that knowledge gap. We want to give you guys the tools to go out there and to continue learning about crypto so that you can start making this generational wealth and this life-changing new economy. So, Chris, what do you have to say and add on that, or have we just completely exhausted the Cardano projects to watch?
I do want to touch back on Cardano, but I saw in the chat, so we have Sean Kilpatrick with a question, and he's asking, "Hey Steve, what do you mean by decoupling?" And I think this is a good time to do a little education and drop some knowledge when you talk about kind of Ethereum and Cardano decoupling from Bitcoin. What do you actually mean?
Yeah, so Sean, it's a great question. Decoupling is essentially saying that Bitcoin for the longest time has carried the market. So when Bitcoin's price goes up, the rest of the market follows. That is coupled. They're running in tandem. They're strongly correlated. When you are decoupling, that is simply saying that Ethereum, for example, is starting to run on its own price path. It's getting to the point of maturity where it does not need to stay correlated to Bitcoin's price. It's gained such a network effect that it can now run on its own. In the case of Cardano, what we're talking about there, I personally think that we're seeing enough of a left-hand turn from where Bitcoin's price is headed and how it's been trending. That this shows me that something like Cardano, at a much smaller market cap than even Ethereum, has the ability to decouple from Bitcoin. It's not just limited to this conversation of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So I hope that answers your question on what decoupling is. But Chris, would you add anything to that? Am I missing anything on the decoupling question?
I think decoupling's good. And before we wrap up our Cardano talk, one thing I do want to bring to everyone's attention, I hope it's easy enough to see, but basically, if you look kind of down towards the bottom of this Cardano ecosystem graphic, you'll see educational, research institutions that are, within the Cardano ecosystem. And there are two things I want people to look at. One, obviously, is Cambridge University in the United Kingdom. What, one of the most storied, but also influential educational institutions in the world. I'm pretty sure that they existed. God, I mean, they're actually coming up on like 1,000 years, I think, at this point. It's insane. But some of the best minds and most influential people, not just every generation, but every year. Like, I'm talking Forbes 30 under 30, like massive company founders, Nobel Prize winners. They come out of Cambridge, and to have an institution like that within the ecosystem is very telling that you're going to have the next generation, or even within the next 5 years, of brilliant minds coming out, very familiar with Cardano and how to work within the ecosystem. And it shows me that, higher learning is taking notice and realizes, okay, this is the future. In the same way that we're seeing a lot of major institutions, I can only speak to the US, but investing in data and analytics. They realize that that is the future, not just of, education, jobs, and business, but everything, right? Rather than kind of leaving it to your gut, it's now looking at, all right, what does the data tell us? How can we make our best decision off of that? It's the same with Cardano. Um, and you're seeing, decentralization platforms like Cardano. If you have major institutions basically teaching the next generation, look at this, this is going to be the future, that is very promising. And another thing I think you should look at is how you have two universities in Athens, Greece, that are looking at Cardano. And for those who don't know, Greece has not been in the best of financial situations over the last decade. Um, you know, they tried to kill their prime minister. It's not great. We're
Yeah, I
pretty,
mean, I mean, political assassinations aside,
yeah,
right?
we're just shy of like a coup there, but I think things are improving. However, this kind of, takes me to, I believe Cardano is heavily invested in Nigeria right now, I think it is, in helping set up basically a currency that won't just overnight be worth 1 millionth of what it was the day before. And I think, you know, it's all well and good, obviously, to look at that in terms of Africa. Obviously, traditionally, it's not as economically strong as the rest of the world. But if you go look at Europe, and yes, Greece is in Eastern Europe, it still is like, fairly Western, in regards to Europe as a whole, and in terms of the population of the people who go there. And to have a European country kind of looking at it, yes, obviously they're thinking towards the future. I also think of it as kind of a currency play, which is what happens if the EU kind of comes apart? Well, instead of going back to the drachma, theoretically, Greece has two of their major universities looking into the Cardano ecosystem. They could be using crypto as their kind of currency. So, two interesting things that I just wanted to bring up for everyone to keep in mind, but I think we should probably move on in case we're boring
Yeah, no.
people of the
So
Cardano talk.
yeah, so let me go ahead and throw one thing out there to the listeners. If you can do us a big favor, number one, make sure you're subscribed. We're going to be doing these streams every Tuesday and Friday. Make sure you gently tap upon the like button and let us know that you're enjoying the stream. If you are, we would certainly appreciate it. But if you can actually go, rewind a couple seconds once we're at the very end of this video and go back to that chart and tell us in the comments below what your favorite Cardano ecosystem play coming up is going to be. We would love to hear from you. That way we can also know if you guys want us to continue covering Cardano into the future. So last question. Give me a number. Where is ADA going from here?
I think it is realistic that before the next, you know, bear cycle, mini or major, that we see Cardano hit at least $4. But that is my most conservative guess. I'm not going to clickbait you and say Cardano to 100 in the next 2 months. Smart contracts are going to kill it. The reality is we have no idea what's going to happen. That being said, we saw the trend. Obviously, the news about smart contracts has helped it to stabilize. I think, we will see basically within the next 3 weeks where this goes. I think it's realistic that within the next 2 weeks it hits $3, and you know, you were saying beginning of October we could kind of see a dip again in Bitcoin's price. I'd say by then it's not unrealistic for $4 to be, you know, an actual price point of Cardano. And to put that in perspective, that's about a 100% increase from right now, a little less. And if you were in the stock market, the average return is like,
22.
yeah, like, oh, I was gonna say in that period of time, probably
Oh yeah.
22 of a percent. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I,
even if it seems like, oh God, I have to spend $2, 250 on it now, and it's only going to four. Think about it in terms of percentages. That's really how you need to think of not just crypto, but investing as a whole. This isn't financial advice. This is just basic math. Think about it in terms of a percentage increase. And that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
yeah, look, I'm not going to give you financial advice. I'm going to give you life advice. This is a platform that you want to make sure you are at the very least thinking about getting into. Because my conservative bet is Cardano to $5 well before the end of this year. That being said, that's the conservative side of me. I've been calling for about 3 or 4 months now after doing arguably too much research.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can
that
confirm.
that we are more than likely going to end up seeing something to the tune of 750. I would not be surprised if it ended up somewhere between 720 and 750. But that to me, again, you're looking at a 3x from here versus a 2x from here, going to $5 versus 750. But that I think can wrap us up on ADA. I would love to go into another new fun riffing game with you that I think that we've been almost too excited about, and especially once we get the new stinger in the next couple of weeks, and we start getting these fun transitions in, so you guys can get pumped about certain segments. You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. But this next segment is a little game that we like to call Two Bulls, One Coin. And this week, just like every week going forward, we are going to take a little bit of time to look at one project. And we're going to determine if that project is a shitcoin or not. So this week, our shitcoin of the week that we're focusing on in Two Bulls, One Coin is Pickle Finance. If you joined us on Tuesday and you could sit there and actually work through the audio issues that we suffered, you'll know that my call of the week for my micro cap was, in fact, Pickle Finance. So we're going to take a look at Pickle today. Chris, if you've already got it up on screen,
Oh
perfect.
yeah.
Um, what I want you guys to understand about Pickle, and again, it is the ticker is still literally Pickle, is exactly what I said on Tuesday. This to me is combining two of the biggest trends that I think we're going to still see in the next 3 months: meme coins and DeFi. Because very few projects out there are trying to focus on yield maximization. And that is exactly what Pickle is doing. So they're going to benefit when people are like, oh, it's Pickle. And then you're also going to get the people from the DeFi world that say, oh, holy crap. The total supply on this coin is 1 million. This thing has the potential to be an absolute moonshot. At least that's me pleading its case. Chris, just on the surface here, what do you get from Pickle Finance?
I mean, Rich, I think when we last talked about it, Richard and I both said it at the same time, which is my first thought goes to Pickle Rick. And obviously, or maybe not so obviously to the people watching, but the crypto community and fans of Rick and Morty, there is definitely overlap. And so I think that plays to Pickle Finance's strength. In case you guys want to check this out, by the way, their URL is pickle, spelt like the food, dot finance. So check it out, do your research. They have their docs and all that there. But yeah, I mean, my first thought was Pickle Rick, and I was like, huh, I wonder what this is going to be. But obviously a big partner of cryptocurrent is Tantra Labs, which is another major kind of yield focused project. And obviously, I love yield. I love this high APY, which is annual percentage yield. In case you missed Tuesday's show, um, and in crypto, it's insane right now, the APY you can get. So I'm definitely going to read into it more and learn more about it because I am interested in it. But you are the pickle expert, as they say. So why don't you dive more into that?
I was about to say the fact that you're going to lean into that, and I made the joke on Tuesday, but I'm just way too dad joke oriented at this point to not say it again. But I'm getting really salty about the fact that you keep lumping me into this pickle loving group. Um, so when I look at this project, and you can scroll down the page a little bit, give them a little bit more of like what you're actually seeing, because it's not just like this landing page. One of the things to understand and see when you're looking at this project is things like TVL, how much money is already locked up in the ecosystem. Um, if you look at that compared to their fully diluted market cap, the ratio there is beautiful because they have far more total value locked at play, which is reducing the ratio number down to, I think it's like 0.15 right now. That's a really, really, really strong TVL to market cap ratio to be investing in. Because typically speaking, if it's not got a ton of price action, that indicates that it's something that could theoretically have a lot of momentum in front of it. But you've got really strong statistics down their page. But beyond that, like it all looks professional, right? If you go on many of these shitcoin project sites, you start to just pick up on the vibe, right? They're just in it for a cash grab. There's nothing materially there. This to me says that they've got an actual platform that's built out. It's there, and it's, as they say at the bottom, in the hands of the community. I think the team behind it's strong, stronger than you would think. But I mean, look, you brought up Rick and Morty, so let's just go ahead and own it. There have been a lot of integrations within the NFT space. And if you go back up to the top and you look at their initial pickle illustrations of what they've got canned on the sides, like on the sides of your web page there, that to me kind of really is reminiscent of the Rick and Morty animations of Pickle Rick, as you'd said. And I would not be shocked if we see some type of low key integration with one of the animators from Rick and Morty. It would be very, very surprising to me if we didn't. So I would be thinking about that a little bit. But I guess my question is, based on what you've seen, based on what we've talked about, we batted it around a little bit. Um, what are you thinking? You feel free to bring up the chart too, because I want to get a holistic picture, right? We need to look
Yeah.
at this pick. We need to look at this pickle from all the angles. Um, I am terrible, and everybody's going to get to know that over the course of the next couple streams. Uh, when we bring up the chart, take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Pull up the logarithmic view.
I
What is your vibe? Is this really a shitcoin?
So before I even pull that up, what I want to just look at is the maximum APY, which is 900%. And we talked about this on Tuesday, which is pretty much, unless like you're a top like focus of these traditional banks. So Chase, for example, if you are like their Sapphire Premier customer and you have, I think the like top tiers, if you have $15 million in a Chase FDIC insured savings account, you get 0.5% APY, or like 0.4%. So just to make this math really simple for myself, if you get 0.5% APY at the top level in a traditional financial institution's savings account, you're looking at 900% APY with Pickle if you're in their top bracket. And basic math, that's what, 1,800 times as much an invest or return on your investment per year, which is absurd.
Yep.
Just to like for simplicity's sake, again, let's assume that $10,000 puts you in the top bracket of Pickle. I'm sure it is much more than that. In a single year, you would earn $1.8 million more than you would with a traditional bank if you had 10,000 in both. That is ridiculous.
But again, they're so early in this process. And again, that's what we've been saying for the last like 6 months. We've been repeating this over and over and over, not just on the podcast, but in the clubhouse and through our tweets. We're in early innings within crypto still. Like we're nowhere near mass adoption. And the reality is that these APYs are what people are going to eventually be pulled to, right? There's a magnetism to it. But yeah, pull the chart, look at the chart, throw it into logarithmic view so we can get a better picture of it. Are you in full year to date?
I can put it. I was in all on a logarithmic, but
That's
we can do
fine.
year to date.
That's
Um,
fine. You're gonna get the same exact chart roughly.
oh yeah.
So what you're seeing here, logarithmic year to date, is that it has not yet truly recovered from that dip. So if you want to look at it from a very, very basic technical point of view, it's got a lot of room to run. So is it high risk? Absolutely. Is this something that you could absolutely get wrecked on? Absolutely. Um, but to me, just being the type of investor that I am, and because Richard's like slowly transformed me into a total degen, um, I would say that this is a play that I would personally kind of lean toward, and I'm really right now looking at finding an entry point. But Chris, I again defer back to the original question. You're looking at the chart. You've got an eye for finance, probably still better than mine. Is it really a shitcoin?
So from a project perspective, and you were talking about how much capital they have locked up right now, think of it as something like 100 million US dollars, which is a lot. That's a lot of money to have locked up when you're basically providing a return on investment. That's your whole business model. Very good sign there. Um, for comparison, I think USD coin has maybe 100 times that locked up, and it has like monster funds behind it. So for a small essential, we'll call it a shitcoin right now, just for simplicity's sake. For a small shitcoin team behind it, that is incredible that they have that much locked up, and people are seeing a return on their investment. They said they'd paid about 175,000 out this year alone. That's impressive. So from a project perspective, I love it. From a finance perspective, like just looking at the charts, it is super interesting because up until about, let's say it was like early February still, Pickle pretty much underperformed Bitcoin consistently. It followed the trend very, very similarly, but underperformed. And then middle of February into March here, you can kind of see it. It's hard to see. I know it's a little small. Um, Pickle started outperforming Bitcoin on a logarithmic scale, which is incredible. Obviously, so you can see here, it's a little below it in that major spike Bitcoin had, um, you know, right around, April, May. But since then, kind of what the trend I'm seeing is, the dips, it's going to be above Bitcoin. So it holds stronger above Bitcoin when there is a major market dip. That goes in a little to the decoupling we talked about earlier. It's going to be a little less at the peaks, which actually makes a lot of sense to me because the peaks happen when these massive financial institutions have bought in and they want to see a big number. So, Pickle, this seems like a really strong project to me. I need to read into it more before I, decide, okay, maybe I want to lock up some money with Pickle or maybe I want to buy just the token. But to me, this does not seem like a shitcoin, and I have a feeling right now they are just suffering from a lack of marketing and exposure.
Yep. I would have to agree on the back end of that. The important thing to always keep in mind when you're looking at a chart like this and you're bringing in the factors that you were when it comes to outperforming Bitcoin is understanding that, and we talked about this earlier in the year too, context paints the picture, right? Not only like did we see that big dip off and you can see where that occurred in the chart, but in the lead up to that, we were in an alt season. So altcoins at large were outperforming Bitcoin. So Pickle naturally would be outperforming Bitcoin. Then when things flipped, it is good that they're running in a closer tandem. The correlation there is, not an extreme difference, but you're seeing the opportunity. I think that's the biggest message to take away from it. But it's got to be at least still 60% down from high. Is that what I'm seeing, or you? What do you have? What do you see in the
Oh
side in
yeah.
the
So
sidebar there?
just
What was the all-time high?
so the all-time high kind of in this so in year to date was about $32. I don't have the actual number right here,
So
but it
if you
was about 30.
look on the right hand side of the screen and you scroll down in that gray area, it says it right in there.
I need to show more. Oh, here we go. All-time high was $77, but that was about a year ago today. This year it was $32.
Okay.
So you're sitting just below 10 right now. So yeah, down about 66%. That's
That to
it's
me, that to me is a project
yeah.
that has not recovered, that has the opportunity, but moreover, if you look at it, it has a little bit of a pulse. I like to look for the projects that look like they're dead and then show a little bit of life because that tells me that people still have their eyes on it, but they're coming back around. Um, to me, I say not a shitcoin. I say this is a legit altcoin project, and I'm sticking to it. So that's my call for the week on whether or not Pickle Finance is a shitcoin. Hopefully, I'm proven right by the time we review our calls for next week. But I'm glad that we got the chance to toss Pickle around, bud. So thank
Yeah.
you.
And one thing I want to talk about with just to keep something in mind is you're talking about projects that look dead but still have some life in them. This to me seems kind of like one of those hidden gems, right? Like you kind of they talk about it a lot in traditional finance, especially in the last year or two, where people have been wanting to know, okay, what does the what do the actual ultra wealthy do that I don't that make them so much money? And to me, you look at Pickle Finance, they have about 100 million locked in, and only about I think it was just under 6,000 people are actually in their top bracket of yield, which to me says, hey, okay, you've only 6,000 in your top bracket. For comparison, crypto.com's app to be in their top bracket, it's about 40,000 US dollars, I think, would put you in their top bracket. 40 or 400,000, I can't remember. I think it's about 40,000 US because you have to get it in their native token.
Yep.
So let's say 40,000 top bracket. If Pickle's top bracket was at $40,000, that would mean that six their amount locked in would be significantly lower. If you have just about 6,000 people in the top bracket and they've locked in 100 million, that tells me that whoever these people are putting a lot of money into Pickle. And that's one thing. Obviously, be skeptical about what I'm saying, but I'm going to really do a deep dive after this because I have a feeling this is one of those things that people have just discovered and not said anything because they want to reap the rewards. So we're telling you about it now. This is something I would absolutely keep an eye on. And
Again,
it's
do you,
it's just it's just math.
yeah.
That's the way I look at it. It's not any kind of special advice. It's not financial. This isn't even life advice. This is just basic math.
But
That's
look, just
all. Yeah.
do your own research though. Again, we preach that around here. We want to point out the ones that we think are interesting to you, but again, you got to do your own research. That's the way that you win in this space at the end of the day. And even if you get kicked on a couple of them, the importance is that you're learning. Don't ever think that it's the end. I've made that mistake before, and I know plenty of people that have as well. So play that through. But look, we're right now coming up against the end of our time. I want to just cover a couple last things on what to watch for in the next week or so, because there are a couple really big things that are coming up in the industry that you need to be aware of. First and foremost, tomorrow there are two massive NFT drops coming. One of Richard and my favorite NFT projects is the coin Eternity, ERN, if you want to look it up. Eternity tomorrow is releasing their Messi NFTs, and yes, I mean Lionel Messi. This is the biggest NFT drop of the year, in my opinion. Um, there is no sports star right now, at least globally, in my opinion, that is bigger than Messi.
I
The
have a
fact that
crazy stat for you if you want it.
go
PSG, and they signed Messi last week. In those 7 days, PSG has made $150 million on Messi merchandise sales.
see that's insane, but like
And that's why I'm saying that's why tomorrow's drop of Eternity is the biggest thing of the year, because it is going to blow up.
yep, and especially because Eternity is a project that runs on its own native coin. You need to be looking at this type of stuff, guys. The Messiverse is the real deal. It's coming tomorrow. If you can get exposure to it, you might want to, especially if you're a big soccer/football fan. I refuse to ever refer to that as football from this point forward. But the big point is Messi's NFT is coming. It's going to be huge. Another really big point on that is PSG, as you had mentioned. They're also one of the teams out there that currently operates their own fan token. So they have a token of their own, the PSG token, out in the metaverse that you can invest in, and basically selling that token back and forth comes with its own benefits. But on Messi signing with the team, I think they pumped something to the tune of like 250% in a
Wow.
day. So fun fact on that one. But the other project that comes tomorrow is one of my favorite projects of the cycle so far is Dogs Unchained. If you've been following the Avatar projects and all the insanity that's ensued with that, Dogs Unchained takes a little bit different of an approach, and you can basically buy two dogs and breed them together with what they call the Boom Boom Room, and you get to choose the best attributes from both NFTs and combine them together to make one, basically a super dog at the end of it. So, Dogs Unchained is coming tomorrow, and this thing is already private sale locked up. You're not going to be able to get into the private sale. I apologize. Very, very sorry. I've only been talking about it in public for weeks. But alas, many of you are not there. So take a look at the secondary market. It's going to be an absolute banger. Next up on the 23rd, we have a big IDO coming from Card Starter in Unreal Finance. Very worth looking at. Again, we have been on a roll with Cardano today. So why not include another big IDO coming on the 27th through Card Starter, which is Paribus. Both of those projects, very, very, very highly anticipated. Last but not least, I'm a little bit early on this one because it's outside of the scope of next week. But on August 30th, quick reminder that Kava.io has their mainnet launch. That is really, really big because, again, Kava has a ton of value locked up. So do your research. Go take a look at some of those events. They're coming up quick. Next week on Cryptocurrents podcast, coming out on Monday and then on Thursday, we have Clayton Gardner from Titan dropping in to talk to Richard. It's going to be a great episode talking about how they're taking on a new approach with investment management. And then David Lukács from Liquid Avatars is stopping onto the show. Both episodes are going to be fantastic. One NFT focused, one is, I would argue, in a way, DeFi focused. So you got a lot of variety next week. It's going to be great. We also have on Tuesday next week our big stream where Chris, Richard, and I will be back with you for another great episode, as well as we'll be back on next Friday to do this all over again. So, Chris, is there anything else that we need to cover this week? Any announcements that you got? Any other promotions we need to put out there?
Before I get into that, we have one last question in the chat. Sydney asking if these NFT releases have anything to do with Messi's contract signing or if it's a separate project. Sydney, it is my understanding that this is something that's been in the works for a while. So publicly, at least, it's not to do with his contract signing. However, it is very suspicious that he signed a week ago and tomorrow is when his NFTs are dropping. So take that as you may. I'm sure there was some sort of plan kind of put out into the world. That being said, it's not like this was something that he signed with PSG and then they decided to do this.
Yeah, let me pull a little bit of the air out of the room for this one. This is not something that's tied to PSG. It's not tied to anything. This deal was already done when he was with Barcelona. And if you look at the artwork from it, it's completely independent from a franchise. This is only about Messi. And you'll also find that in a lot of these sports projects, that's the way they have to do it because the licensing gets so complicated with them, and you can't necessarily have, all the benefits of the athlete and then have to pay royalties out to the franchise because you're using their likeness. It's kind of crap, but that's the way that the world works. So yeah, this has been in the works for a while, but it's incredible. It really is an incredible project the way they put it together. In fact, when we had Adrian Bashuk on the show, he's the COO over at Eternity. We got the chance to talk to him at Miami Crypto Experience, and there were a couple things like this that he had, a second or two to show me and Richard in the back end. Um, Suffice to say that like this is still a project to watch, guys. They have a lot lined up that you have not seen yet, and it's just one after the other. They did the Pacquiao drop like last week. They had the Muhammad Ali drop before that, Fernando Tatis Jr. before that, and it's just going to get crazier. That's the way it's going to roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have any other announcements before we called this one a stream?
All I was going to say is, like Steve was saying, we got some great episodes coming up. If you want to see any of our past episodes or any future episodes, they're available on all platforms. So we have Apple Music, we have Spotify. If you want the videos, those are available on YouTube as well. So make sure to go check that out. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, where we are posting updates and a lot of our other content, which is available on our website, such as our editorial stuff. It's a lot of great stuff. It'll educate you if you're new to the scene or if you're a vet. We're covering all kinds of new information, news that's coming out. But that's it for me. Steve, anything else? You all good?
I was going to say, I'm going to give the last two words. Remember, we do have a private Telegram channel that we are actively communicating with the community in. If you want to get in touch with me on that, you see my handle below. Send me a DM through Twitter. I will get you the link and we'll get you into that Telegram channel. But that is going to do it for us this week. And all I got left is to tell you to stay cryptocurrent.